Yeah, my name is Zahir Khan. I talk about self-realization and enlightenment, but the way I was brought up, I kind of talk from as many different traditions as humanly possible. So I will talk to you about Sufism, Non-Duality, Advaita, Indian masters like Osho, and what have you. The reason for that is, as I say to people, I'm free of my conditioning, but I'm also a victim of it. Growing up, I had a father who encouraged me to sit with as many different faiths and approaches as humanly possible. It led to a well-rounded individual who had a respect for all these different faiths in comparison to a lot of my friends who were, we've got to get down to the masjid and this is the only way and that's how it's going to be. Then at the age of 23, I met the first Sufi that I was going to meet on my journey, and I not gone to go and meet any kind of a Sufi teacher. The whole thing was somebody had told me there was a Qawwali concert happening, which is music that Sufis use to whirl in the Indian subcontinent. And the particular guy who's going to be singing, I was a fan, so I thought, well, yeah, why not? I get there, there's a bunch of strange people whirling away. As I get there, one of the guys comes up to me and he goes, tonight we're going to get you drunk. Now, I'm Muslim, we don't drink. So I turn around to my Sufi spiritual tour guide, my friend Majid, and went, bro, what's he talking about? He goes, bro, it's a cult, yeah. Just stay close to me. And that was my first experience of Sufism. The next day, everybody said, well, would you like to become a murid, which means would you like to be a student? And I went, well, I'm not really doing anything. Why not? I rang my mother after doing the first thing that was actually good in my life, to which she said, you're in a club somewhere in West London and everything, and I'm chucking your gear out. I've had enough of you and stuff. So I'm now homeless. So 3 days later, the teacher asks, he goes, I want to go to Coventry, and whose home shall I go to? And I thought, well, if he doesn't come to my home, I'm homeless. So my friend, who was the Sufi tour guide, who'd read all the books and knew everything about it, said, oh, great, wise one, keeper of knowledge, ocean of this, and this, and everything. Please come to my house. He goes, I'll tell you what, I'll go to Zach's instead. So he turns up at my house. So I rang my mum and go, Mum, I'm bringing my teacher with me. She was like I said, your gear's in the lobby and you pick it up and away you go. So I turn up with a guy who checks all, checks all the boxes. He's got long hair, he's got a white beard, and, he looks like a spiritual master. So I spent 8 years with this guy, in which time he spoke to me for about 10 minutes or so. And of those 10 minutes, 7 minutes were listen to the guy over there and what he's saying, to which the guy pulls out a text on Sufism which said, you shall listen to your teacher. You shall do as your teacher says. You will never question your teacher, and you will do what the teacher says, just to emphasize it all over again. So that was about all the instruction I had over 8 years. But along the way, I cleaned a lot of floors, cleaned a lot of toilets, whirled badly until I went to Pakistan, where I go to a festival and I'm told to clean a floor. And I'm like, well, hold on, I'm on the English contingent. We come to your third world backwater with our currency. You should treat me with a bit more respect. So the guy gives me like a little fork. I start cleaning this floor. I hate him for it. After a while, I get used to it. After a while, it starts feeling really, really good. And towards the end, he just looks at me and I thought, damn, he just did me. And then he just goes, can somebody put a carpet over that? We don't need it now. I was like, yeah, it makes sense. So that night, I whirl. I lose all sense of myself and everything. And then I realize I don't want to be there. Then it comes to light that this teacher had been completely deviant and been doing things he shouldn't do. So after 8 years dedicating my life to a man who I thought was God incarnate, I've got to walk away. I then, as in every great story, when you kind of listen to this stuff, end up in Glasgow, as always, a girl is involved, and end up in a flat asking myself, what could it mean to be happy and all of this stuff. There's a series of awakenings. I then start talking to non-duality teachers, Buddhists, whatever I can. And then one day I hear about a man, and this man, what I'm told about him is he went to the holy city of Medina. He had a beard, he shaved it off. I went, take me to this guy, he knows. So I get to this guy's house and he opens the door and he's 6 foot tall and he's got beautiful white skin and long hair. And I went, Jesus. And he goes, not quite. So I walk in and there's dance music playing. There's guys getting stoned out their faces and stuff and everything. And I'm sitting with one of the most realist teachers I'll ever meet in my life. So he goes, look, ask me whatever you want. By this time, I'm like, I don't really want to ask you anything. I just want to kind of sit here. 2 or 3 days later, I have this thought. To this day, I don't know what that thought was. It just tells me everybody's saying the same thing. As this thought starts whirling inside me, you could call it a Kundalini awakening if you want to, it just comes to an end. And I'm sitting on a sofa at home in Coventry, the place I ran away from, and I realise I'm done. whatever that means. 4 months later, I go to the Theosophical Society and kind of went, the door's open, so I take it as a sign from the universe. And I walk in and I'd like to do some talks. And that was my introduction to all of this stuff, which is why you're all in the room. And the guy goes, what do you talk about? And I thought, what do I talk about? So I went non-duality and Sufism. He goes, well, have some of that, as if he's buying some pears off me and stuff. And I was like, great. So my first talk is a complete disaster. My moral support goes, bro, you shouldn't be talking about these things. Yeah, you're out of order. Guy walks in, he goes, I've had this amazing awakening. I had this amazing opening. And I went, great, get on with it. So it just all went wrong. I did a summer of talks that were lovely. And then I decided to be normal and get myself a job and do normal things. So disappeared. 3 years ago, I'm lying in bed, terrified. I've got a new job that's got to be starting on a Monday morning. And I realized I can't do it anymore. I just can't carry on living the way I'm living. And then my friend walks in and says the fateful words, which a few of you already heard because I've been talking to everybody. And he says the most profound thing I've ever heard in my life. He goes, bro, do you want a cup of tea? Had he said anything else, I wouldn't be sitting in this room. So I'm kind of grateful to him that he said that, as opposed to, you lazy git, get out of bed, bro, you start your job. So I sit there, have a cup of tea, I panic, I go to the Theosophical Society, I ask if I can have my old room back. They give me the room above it, and they give me the keys and say, well, Friday night, which in Glasgow is probably the worst place in the world to do a talk. Friday night, come on, it's bars, clubs and everything. So I sit there for 3 months, nobody shows up. And then this woman turns up with 2 yoga instructors, and I could have bet my mortgage, my life, that the 2 yoga instructors were going to turn up the following week. They disappear. And the woman who's been arguing with me, who takes offense when I start talking about Osho, becomes one of the first companions and stuff. So other people start turning up. It's all a pitch battle. It's all like this and this and this. And since then, I've been talking. I've written a book about this stuff. And what I look to try and do, and this is where the contradiction kind of comes in, is to try and resolve it. So I'm sitting here in a Sawar Kameez. This is the first and probably the only talk you will ever see me in a Sawar Kameez. And I'm going to just kind of poke fun at the whole thing and say it's completely irrelevant and you need to de-emphasize it and see it as what it is, a practical reality. The reason I'm saying that is recently I read a quote by a man called Sufi Ali Hujweri, who was one of the preeminent Sufis in the Indian subcontinent. And what he said was, a reality with no name has now become a name with no reality. So we have now in this day and age those who are Sufis, and they will look the part, so they will have the beard and the robes and everything. But you'll find that there is form, but there's no substance. And it's about going back to the point where there is really no such a thing as Sufism or any of this stuff, and it's just a reality with no name. What will then happen is these places will cease. So what I'm actually trying to do here is pull myself out of a job. Don't want to be here anymore. So I'm trying to make myself redundant. So what I'll do for that is not answer your questions, be irreverent, and actually point it back to you. So it's a thuggish kind of thing I do. I just kind of say, mate, it's you. And you go, yeah, but I don't think so. And as I say to people, one of us is lying, and I don't lie. So you're the liars in the room. I'm the guy who's truthful. And you're going to say, well, no, that couldn't be the case because, come on, my pain and everything is very, very sincere. So I engage you. So I'm here to kind of be irreverent. I'm going to attract some of you. I'm going to repel a load of you, but I'm going to leave the whole thing with a question.